Don't know what it is about cassette decks, but every time I get one and fix it and put it up for sale, somebody buys it. I have no idea why. Why are we still using cassette tapes? It's 2020, folks, but people still like them. And I got one in that was given to me. And this is one of those unique ones put out by Sansui that just grabs people's attention. I have a Direct-O-Matic Sansui cassette deck. This one's an SC1110. In case you guys don't know what that's for. This is one of those direct loading units because the purist out there always claimed that that loading mechanism was a place where distortions occurred, because, you know, having the tape in that housing didn't always hold it true. So the audio purists always preferred a direct loading, kind of like that techniques that I've got, that you put the tape in and push it down, so there's nothing to hold the tape, there's nothing to touch the tape, it's held in place properly. This was Sansui's answer to that, and this one here apparently does not work. So before we load a tape, let's just first see whether anything moves in here. What happens when I press buttons? Oh, well, that's turning backwards. That's not a good sign. How about fast forward? Nothing happens on fast forward, nothing happens on rewind, but on play the take up spool turns backwards. Okay, so we have a problem with this one. So let's tear into it and see what the problem is. Also, noting that the capstan is not turning. Well, for one, the capstan belt is melted to nothing. You can see the remnants of it on the capstan shaft and on the motor over here. And two, this belt is pushed around this the wrong way. I think it's supposed to go around this way. I think somebody's been into this, because that is the wrong way. Yeah, that belt should go, it should loop around here. I'll show you guys here. Let me just turn this up. That's looping the wrong way. That belt, it's worn out, it's got to be changed. They all have to be changed, but this belt here is supposed to not go around the pulley that way. It's supposed to go around the other way for play. It's supposed to go around like that. That's how it goes, believe it or not. That's the slip clutch for the play idler. So now play, when I put it into play, it'll turn the right way, which it is now turning the correct way. So we need to change belts on this one, and I need to clean this mess up on this one. Get all the remnants of that old rubber out of there. It's going to be gummed up and just ugly, but a nice solid mechanism with which to work with. So let's get started on this one. Wonderful. Just love these ones. But I also know what people are prepared to pay for one of these decks. This is mine, by the way. The last one of these decks I sold for about 180 bucks. So I know what people will pay for one of these Direct-O-Matic decks that are working. You know, it seems ridiculous that somebody would pay anything for it, but as I say, there's people that have got sucker tattooed into their forehead every day. People will pay too much for old electronics, and I'll be happy to liberate them of their money if they're willing to throw money out on one of these old machines. I have no problem. The head doesn't appear to be too badly worn on this one. There's a little bit of wear on there, but it's not in bad shape. Definitely, I think worth fixing. Okay, I'm also going to remove the bottom cover just to make it easy to get into. Yeah, put those screws in kind of tight. notice the auto stop on this is just a simple reed switch with a magnet that spins by it. So the reed switch just opens and closes and puts a pulse on these wires. This is the auto stop mechanism. And basically what happens is when the magnet stops turning, it stops charging and discharging this capacitor, which then trips this transistor once it reaches to a critical voltage. Looks like it's the wires are connected down through these two resistors and into which capacitor are they using? One of these caps is going to charge and discharge. Anyway, when it gets past a certain voltage, it'll fire a transistor which trips that transistor, which fires the solenoid to shut the thing down. That's how the auto stop on this works. I'm just trying to clear these wires out of the way so I can get this thing apart and change that belt. I don't want to have to take this thing apart any more than necessary. And this is an all metal mechanism, which is nice. Mechanical, right? The mechanical mechanisms never have a problem as a rule. Idlers can wear out on there. There's a couple of idlers out here that I'm kind of concerned about because I don't know the shape of them, just because they're driven off the capstan. With the capstan not turning, I don't know whether there's any tension. I guess I can find out by just putting in a rewind and turning the capstan by hand and see if there's any torque here, which there is. Which you can see if I turn the reel here, you can see that the capstan shaft is turning. So if I go to fast forward, it's got the idler is good. As you can see, when I rotate the tape hub, it's rotating the capstan flywheel. So that's okay. So that's one less thing to worry about, is the idlers being bad. Just got to get in here and clean this mess up, and this is gonna get ugly. I gotta get the capstan right out, basically, to do it. This is a light bulb for the tape compartment. I just like to get this out of the way just so it doesn't get, I don't know if it even works, but should be able to lift this rubber grommet out of here. Get this bulb out of the way just so I can free up some wires. Little incandescent bulb there. Let's see, at this point I don't know whether it's working or not. (1977) is when this one was made, by the way. 29th of December 77 is the date on the motor. Gives you an idea of the vintage of a unit like this. With any luck, by removing those two long, they're like a hex key head screw, and then this one Phillips screw here. This should let me remove the motor plate, and I should be able to pull the capstan shaft out from here too without even having to disassemble this thing anymore. I'm hoping that I can take this out. I'm just going to release this little spring here. This spring is used to return the auto stop lever, or the stop bar, I should say. I think that's what it's for. Okay, hopefully I can lift this out of the way now. Get these wires out of the way here. Got the solenoid on here. Ugh. What else is holding this up? take this bar apart. I don't want to. I don't have to, but that solenoid is below here, or remove the solenoid. I'd like to be able to, if I can, just get this thing up enough so that I can get the flywheel out, so I can clean it. Clean the crap off this pulley too. Might be able to get the pulley crap cleaned up without removing the motor, but probably not. Yeah, I'd have to take the motor out, or take this out and clean it up good. It's a mess. When these belts do this stuff, it's just horrible. Yum. Double bag these things, just because I don't, they'll end up getting all over the place. Drop them in my garbage can and they'll fall out and get on the floor, and then someone will step on them and track them in the house. Then Mrs. 12 volts won't be too happy if someone drags gooey belt tar through the house. That will not be a good situation for me or anybody else in the vicinity. See, I really don't have to remove this mechanism anymore in this if I can get this crud off of here. This is all I need to do, is just be able to get this crap off the pulley and off of here. Because I can get a new belt around there, and that's really all I care about, is can I string a new belt through here? Yes or no? Yes, I can. I've got enough clearance that I can get a belt in there if I can get it clean. You might wonder what I'm using to clean this off. WD-40. It removes the stuff like magic. Yeah, I gotta clean up the WD-40 after because it's oily, but it really, it takes this crap off like you wouldn't believe. It takes it off your hands too, by the way. So does baby oil. Johnson baby oil works wonders on removing tar and oil and all kinds of crap. I learned that from a roofer, believe it or not. They use Johnson baby oil to remove tar from their hands after a long day of putting on tar and gravel roofs. Get in there with a rag now and clean some of that up. Piece of an old rag, we'll spray some WD-40 on that and just wipe it. Wipe it clean. It's amazing at how well this stuff works. Get the camera out of my face so that I can actually get in here and clean it up. One thing you gotta be careful if you're gonna spray any type of oil-based cleaner onto a rag, like I've done here, don't put the rags in your garbage can unless you want your house to burn down in the middle of the night, because this could ignite if it's in a closed container. It'd have to be stored. Either throw it outside or put it in a sealed container like they would use like for oily rags, because you don't want to throw that in the garbage. It could spontaneously combust. But you see how nice this is cleaning up? Beautiful. Almost like there was nothing ever there. And then we'll, of course, clean this down with alcohol to remove any of the oil that's going to be left behind from WD-40, because it's got oil in it. Nice, huh? Look at that. That's like just like new. That's your friend for cleaning all kinds of messes up. And then we'll just take some isopropyl alcohol and clean up the rest of this. I'm going to have to wipe this down a few times to make sure it's completely clear, but we'll clean this up. I'll be doing another cleaning of this as well. I got to finish the motor shaft, get that cleaned up, and then we'll find a belt. Hopefully I can find a belt that we'll put on this one and get it going. Now you guys might be wondering, what the heck am I doing with some recording tape stuck to the side of the flywheel? Well, I'm measuring the size of belt that I need. So basically what we can do is we can kind of fish the mechanism back to kind of where it needs to go together, line up the holes, and I'm going to take the belt and I'm going to pull it around, or take the tape, pull it around the head, and then spin the capstan shaft, which will thread the tape around so that I can get an accurate measurement. So now if I put the tape around here, kind of put this into place, what I've done now is I've just threaded the tape around the pulley like it would be if it was a belt. This will give me my rough reading of the size that the belt needs to be. And of course, it will obviously be a little smaller than that, but I just need a ballpark figure so that I can go and find a belt that's roughly the right size. So if I take this tape that's wrapped around here now, goes all the way around the pulley, and I cut it at about the same length as where it's taped on here, roughly there. Now if I take this out, that's roughly the length of the belt. So if I put this in half like this, I measure, that will get me in the ballpark. If I find a belt that's a little bit smaller than that as far as the length of the belt goes, I will have one that is close to the size it needs to be. You can do this with anything. You can do it with anything that can measure. Dental floss is another good one. You can tie some dental floss on there and then cut it and measure it, or wire or tape or whatever you want. You just need to get a measurement so that you know where to start looking for belts. So about 4 inches is what I'm looking for a belt. And yes, I'm fully aware that these belts aren't the right width. I ordered eBay specials belt pack that were supposed to be 5 millimeters wide, but these look more like 3 millimeter wide belts. Again, if I wanted to create a big stink and pay more in postage to ship it back, I could have got my money back, but You know, that's the problem, is that you buy crap off eBay and you don't know what you're getting. So I was looking for one that's about the right size. We'll try that out and see how this thing sounds. And it should work fine, except for the wound flutter might be a little bit on the high side. But again, it's more about how to get this thing to work. That belt there might be close enough. Got two of them here. That one's a little bit bigger. I'm looking for one that's going to be around 4 inches or just under 4 inches, and that one there looks like it might be the one that's the best size, the best fit. Oh yeah, they did in the, and by the way, in the belt, in the pack of belts, there was one that was 5mm and the rest of them were 3. Go figure. That's flea bait for you. See, I think he put the 5mm belt in there so that I couldn't say product not as advertised, because it said assorted belts 3 to 5mm in width and at various sizes. There was like, I think there was like 30 or 40 belts in the kit. So one belt 5mm and the rest of them 3. And now he can say, well, I said it was an assortment of 3 to 5mm belts. I didn't say how many 5mm belts. There's one of them in there. That's how these sneaky buggers pull this crap. Is that, yeah, okay, technically he's right. It is an assortment of belts, but you gotta be careful. Okay, get this belt around this pulley, and we'll work at getting this thing back sort of together. I can just leave it. I could do that and just put the mechanism together and then pull the belt over top of the pulley after it's done, which I think is probably the easiest way to deal with this. Auto stop solenoid. So make sure it's pushing the stop lever over, which it looks like it is. I'll find out pretty quick if I put it into mechanism mode. There we go. Yeah, it'll stop it. Okay, that's that taken care of. Now let's string the belt around where it belongs, over the motor pulley. Might be a little bit on the tight side. See what happens. Okay, plug in the motor and turn it on. See whether it does anything. Yeah, that's working. The auto stop's not hooked up, that's why it's kicking out. But that part's working, and the belt is centering. So hopefully it's going to do the job. Let's find a couple more belts for the tape counter and for the auto stop mechanism, and see what this thing does. Let's see if this one will fit. Loop it around behind the pulley there. There we go. And then it goes around this pulley and behind here. I think it goes around like that. That's how it goes in. Whoops, I'm not quite on this pulley yet, but it goes around something like that. That's how that one goes on. And then the counter belt is this other one here. Hopefully this is going to be okay. Counter belt doesn't need to be very tight, it just needs to be able to turn the counter. So I found one that should be okay for this purpose. Again, because it doesn't have to be tight. That should do it. Let's see what turns. Oh, by the way, the light that goes over the tape is good. I can put that back in here. It lights up the tape compartment. Moment of truth. Fast forward. Rewind. Capstan is spinning. Play. Excellent. Let's load one of these tapes up and see if it does anything. I see something on one channel here. I don't know what's on this tape, so it's a old beat up tape. I just threw something in there just to see whether it did anything. I've got my regular tape here. It just loads in like that. I like these. I like these Direct-O-Matic. I really do. I think these are cool. Right, just load the tape in like that. That's why I'll sell this thing, because these things generally go for, for top dollar. The collectors love these. Let's hook it up and see whether I get any sound. My receiver has just started doing weird things. That Pioneer that I just fixed, in my comments I said I may be putting this into service as my bench amplifier. It looks like that might be what's going to happen sooner than later. My little Sony here has decided that it doesn't want to work anymore. I'll just try unplugging it and see if that'll fix it. Oh, it's going into protection. It's going into protection immediately. Something has gone wrong with my Sony, even with speakers turned off. Yeah, this thing's foobarred. Okay, well, I guess I won't be selling my other receiver. I'll be putting it in place of this one. Let me find something to hook up to this tape deck so that we can test it and see how it sounds. Got the amp now connected up. Let's see if this thing plays anything. Doesn't sound very good, does it? Actually sounds horrible. Fast forward's good, rewind's good. I only hear something on one channel first of all, so let's just check that record play switch and make sure that it's not got any room on my bench to do anything here. Just moving the record play switch there to see whether that's stuck. Clean this thing in. The head doesn't appear to be worn, but it's certainly not putting out much signal on one side. Let me just get my demagnetizer and we'll just give that thing a run over. Okay, let's try it now. That's a little better. Both channels are working now. Must have been just the head was dirty and or, well, it probably did need to be demagnetized because it certainly brought up the treble, but again, the head being dirty could certainly have contributed to that too. Certainly sounding a lot better now. Actually, it's not sounding bad at all. Just rewind this tape and we'll try a recording on the beginning of this tape. So record. All the lights work too, which is nice. Tape timer light works, both meter lights are working. Yeah, both meter lights work, tape counter light works, the light behind the tape works, everything's working on this thing. Let's see how it sounds. Everything works, so let's just make sure that it actually sounds proper. Or sounds half decent. The levels are a bit low. Looking good. Looking good speed-wise. Do one final test recording before I send it out of here. I gotta clean the level control too, it's a bit noisy. It's not perfect, but then I don't expect it to be perfect considering the age of the unit. And I'd say the head's got a bit of wear on it. It was really dirty. I cleaned this thing like 2 or 3 times to get that head clean. And there's probably still some crap on there that I can probably get out of there. The big problem with these units was a lot of times people left this lid open and they got contaminated. Like this is like the 3rd cleaning. You can see the crap that's on there. We'll try cleaning a bit more and just see if we get any more crap off of the head. But to say this thing was really, that's why the sound was so bad when I first made the first test recording there. It sounded like absolute crap, and I just cleaned it some more. And it's amazing what builds up on these things after years and years of use. Yeah, I even got still dirt on there. So I just made another recording. Let's just play it back and see. I recorded it at 0 dB. Let's see how good we get. Our levels are coming back pretty much what went in. Okay, I think we're done on this one. Let's just say this is my machine. I'm just gonna sell it and to see what I can get for this thing. It's probably not worth a lot, but somebody will buy it because I always buy these ones because you know they look cool. Thanks for watching. Next time you see my setup, this amp is going to be in place of the Sony because the Sony just decided to go kaboom. Maybe we'll fix the Sony on a future video.